Now, when I talk about processed foods, let me sort of make one, two things clear. First of all foods are processed to some extent. After all, you don't go out and buy a cow if you want a steak. And at the very least, you'll wash the mud off your potatoes before you cook and eat them. But what I mean by processed foods are things like ready meals, aka TB dinners, fast food, basically anything that comes in a tin packet or a jar. Okay, hidden danger number one. Processed foods contain lots of artificial ingredients. Now these include preservatives, and these are chemicals that give food a longer shelf life and prevents it from rotting so that it can stay there in the store for longer and give the retailer much better chance of actually selling it. Artificial colorings. Now these are chemicals used to give food a specific color, and they're often intended to make it seem like something it isn't. Flavorings. These are chemicals to give the food a particular flavor, as above. And texturants, and these are chemicals that give food a particular texture. And let's be honest, none of them are particularly good for you. Danger number two is processed foods contain lots of salt, sugar, and trans fats. This stuff will raise your level of cholesterol, and in so doing gives you an increased risk of a heart attack or heart disease. And a lot of them contain high fructose corn syrup, and this is used as a very cheap sweetener. And this may be bad for your metabolism. Hidden danger number three are refined carbohydrates. Now the carbohydrates you find in processed foods are usually refined, simple carbohydrates. And these lead to rapid spikes in blood sugar and insulin levels, and they cause negative health effects. Now, don't be fooled, not all carbohydrates are created equal. Complex carbohydrates found in whole foods are much better for you. Danger number four is the fact that many processed foods are made with genetically modified organisms, otherwise known as GMOs. Now, in some countries, these are banned, and in other countries, particularly in the US, these are commonplace. GMOs have been linked to infertility, organ damage, gastrointestinal disorders, and cancer. Now, this is a rather contentious subject, and the jury is still out on whether it does or whether it doesn't, but generally, and personally, I would say this is something to be avoided. Also, processed foods are loaded with pesticides. In order to effectively grow the GMOs used in processed foods, farmers have to apply pesticides and herbicides, many of which end up in the final product. And finally, hidden danger number five, and this is perhaps the greatest danger of all, is that processed foods are low in nutrients. And there are many nutrients that are found in whole foods that are not found in processed foods. I'm talking about things like vitamins, minerals, trace elements, and so on. Because, of course, in the processing of the food, a lot of these things get processed out. So, the more processed foods you eat, the less of these nutrients you're gonna get. So, the bottom line, well, stick to clean eating. Consume real food, not processed junk.